Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the National Guard products number 8135N DKB. This is a rabbited style threshold, called a bumper seal or a bump up. The term latch track is sometimes used as well, but this would not be the best example of a latch track, and we'll touch on that in a moment. Rabbited threshold, you can see why they call it that. There's a rabbit to it. But a bump up, you can certainly understand why. When that door closes, it's going to seal up tight to that inserted material, and that's the N in the part number. That's a neoprene insert that you see there. The DKB, let's back up. The 8135 is this profile of threshold. This profile of threshold is shown down below dimensionally, and let's go over that now. 3 3/4 overall wide. 1/2 of an inch overall height, 1/8 of an inch down here. So that means that if you have aluminum storefront, typically smaller jambs compared to hollow metal, you've got a longer door length, you might have only a 3/8 undercut, this is perfect. You've got a hollow metal door, maybe a 4 3/4 jamb depth, where for whatever reason the flooring condition is no longer permitting the 3/4 inch standard undercut. You got a lot tighter room. This threshold would work perfectly. Residential application, same sort of scenario. Something low to the floor, yet just still 1/2 of an inch that you can navigate over easily. Very effective. Can be used for in-swing and out-swing. Obviously, we're going to see these installed in out-swing applications, but it can go either way, certainly. The problem with using this as an out-swing is that your seal is really on the interior of the opening, here, not out here where you want to stop it first. So certainly if you're going to use this threshold, by all means add a door sweep to the face of this as well. So if you're using it as an outswing, you want to consider stopping dead in the tracks, the intrusion of the weather at the point where you really want to stop it. And really, if this is an outswing, go with a door sweep with a drip cap. That would be a great option. If it's an in-swing, you would very likely be well served with an automatic door bottom that can seal down to the top of this plateaued area. That'd be a great way to go as well. But nonetheless, if the dimensional requirements of your installation call for something narrow in depth, and in height, this could very likely work out well for you. There is a link below this video to a document called Product Brochure where you can review the 8135, but all of the other bumper seals that are associated with this. The 893 is going to be the one that's for a typical undercut. It's just simply higher overall. And that profile with the beveled edge on the backside is that latch track we had talked about earlier. And that scenario is if you have an exterior pair of outswinging doors with surface vertical rod exit devices, that profile can literally act as the strike plate for the bottom latches of your exit devices, therefore the term latch track. The most common, though, type of bump-up thresholds is going to be your 804 in terms of the width and the height. Sometimes people are going to go with something heavier, something more durable. The 884, if you're going to get a lot of traffic, especially two-wheel cart traffic, you might want to opt for that thicker wall material. And then occasionally someone needs to get into something that's literally taller, like an 803, because they have an unusually high space below the door. As you change the N into an S or a P, you can get an S for silicone or a P for pile. Neoprene is really good all around, and I would stick with that if you had an application that you needed good long-term durability. Being a closed-cell neoprene, of course, it's going to be basically impervious to water intrusion in terms of the material itself. Wetsuits or diver suits are made of closed-cell neoprene. Silicone is an excellent material. It's a thinner wall material, but more flexible and far more capable at extreme temperature range in terms of its performance envelope. You may, because it's more flexible, you may want to use that if you need to have the ability of a door closer to be able to significantly seal against the face and the flexibility of silicone may permit that door closer to not get bound as much by a stiffer neoprene. Or if it's on a rooftop and it's routinely temperatures that are north of 100 degrees, a more flexible item at those sorts of temperatures may be advantageous. And then P for pile. If you wanted the short little pile hair insert, you would have that. You'll very commonly see that installed in aluminum storefront material as well. Pile and silicone may be advantageous if you had a door that when it was in the closed position is not at exactly 0 degree or completely parallel to the face of the threshold, a little bit of projection, maybe being compressed significantly on the hinge side, but not so on the lock side, so a little compression over here, but still projecting out to make contact is good. Pile is a very soft material that will give you a seal, but it will certainly do so in an irregular sort of surface material, such as maybe you would consider a pile insert if I had a heavily textured fiberglass door, or what we would call a legacy door, a wooden door that's got an embossed skin, heavily textured, so that there were literally grooves in the face of the door that I would want the pile to actually be able to sneak into each of those grooves and seal against. These are nuances. These are splitting a millimeter 1,000 times sort of stuff we're talking about. But nonetheless, I think you can always eke out a specific advantage for a specific insert for your specific application. In general, neoprene's what you're going to use. Silicone's a good other option. Unless there's a specific reason to use pile, I wouldn't use it myself. Silicone is probably what I'd go with. Very durable, very high temperature profile rating, remains flexible. So that product brochure will allow you to review the other items so that you can know whether or not it's the proper item for your needs. There's also a link to the installation instructions, which basically are measure, cut, install. Obviously some notching is likely going to be required, coping the bottom of the threshold around the frame profile might be necessary. Now this is listed in the website in several different lengths. Pretty much everything from 2 foot to 8 foot. In 2, 4, or 6 inch increments. And you can have those items longer than 8 foot. We just don't list them because the cost to ship is generally prohibitive. You can probably order these up to about 14.5 feet. And if you need one, the freight's probably going to be an issue. The freight will be an issue in terms of cost. If you needed 30 of them at 14 foot long, the freight's not going to be an issue in terms of dividing that cost out. So that's why we don't list them, but just know that it's available. If you have need for a custom length, by all means let us know by ordering the next longest piece or pieces and simply indicate in the comment field the net length that you'd like for us to cut the material back to. Now the reasoning is if you had to take this 36 inch piece and cut it down to say 30 inch, you'd likely eliminate that dimple that's there for the screw. See that that is actually not punched all the way through. There we go. Speaking of that dimple, screws are included in a complementary finish. They're like about a number 10 by 1.5 inches or so flathead Phillips sheet metal screw. And anchoring the threshold solidly, of course, is the key to a long-lasting, successful installation. But the point is if you had to cut this down to 30 inch, you'd eliminate that dimple. The next one's all the way over here. So if you order a custom length, we'll not only give you that first countersink at the proper distance from the edge, but the proper center to center as well, saving you the trouble of not only cutting it, but sometimes clients realize that when it's too late, oh, I have to countersink this. Don't have a countersink. Or a drill bit that will actually serve that purpose, and drill bits don't have the same profile as countersinks, so you end up countersinking too great of an area if you were to use a much larger drill bit. So keep that in mind. We'll be happy to ship it to you at a custom length if needed. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the National Guard products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the National Guard products, 8135 and neoprene, DKB, dark bronze finish, and the National Guard dark bronze is generally on the darker side, but does very well match up to typical aluminum anodized storefront that you're going to see. Depending on how the light hits this, it might reflect to your eyes a little bit golden or lighter, but without light reflecting it, it will look darker like that. Anyway, the name National Guard is synonymous with all things weather stripping related, and would very much recommend that you familiarize yourself with their product catalog, especially if you have more than an occasional need for weather stripping. You'll experience industry familiarity, acceptance with the product line, good quality customer service, technical support, prompt, reliable, predictable shipping lead times. And while practically all manufacturers in this industry have minimum orders to drop ship if we don't stock it, their material is always well worth the wait. If you have any questions on the 8135N DKB threshold or any other National Guard product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.